Well, hello, Joshua Sands here, counselor, mentor, life coach, sharing with you some information that I believe is so vital for today. And it has to do with what it means to save our sons. Now, people might say, well, what about the daughters? Well, we're going to get to that. But what we want to do is begin where God appears to begin, and that is with the male life and the male structure. Now, God made us male and female. We find that in the Bible. All right, nobody would argue with that. And men are attracted to women, and because we get together, we have children. But what we're facing now in many of our communities, whether you're urban or some other area, islanders, or whether you're out in the country, is that our sons are not stepping up to the plate, particularly those who are millennials and those who are like under 20, under 21. A lot of our young men are tending to use drugs. The drug of choice right now is marijuana, or as they call it, weed. And then a number of our sons are getting involved in gangs. One of the things I do every day is deal with young men who come before the courts. I'm a counselor and an advocate and a substance use disorder therapist, so that what we are doing is trying to help them get off of drugs. There are some challenges that you need to think about as you begin to look at parenting, what it means to parent and to raise a son in today's climate. First of all, keep in mind that parenting is a two-person job. Parenting was never meant to be done by one parent. Now, people do it. They make it happen. But it was meant to be male and female, mother and father. Children have a better chance when both parents are in their lives, whether they actually live with the child or whether you're in a divorce type situation and you see your son or a daughter from week to week. Children have a better chance with both parents when they have access to someone who can show them, particularly our boys, what it means to be a man. Can women raise sons? Of course. My father was raised by my grandmother, and his father was not in his life, but he was in my life. And so whatever generational curse existed, it ended with him. So that for me and my sisters and my little brother, we were raised to be exposed to both parents. And that's important because both parents bring different things. Men bring a different presence to the home. Women bring a different presence to the home. There are some things that men do that women don't do as well, and vice versa. My mom used to say, the father may call the tune, but the mother beats the drum. Think about that. The father may say, hey, come on, y'all, we're going over here. But the mother has to work out the details. The mother is the manager. The mother is the one who has to make sure that the children have their clothes, to make sure that the lunches are made, to make sure homework is done, see what's in the pantry, what are we cooking, what's for dinner. Father is out there trying to earn a living, trying to bring in the money, trying to make sure the house is secure, trying to make sure that the family is safe. Father is primarily provider and protector. Women are the ones who go in and they look into the details. They're the detail-oriented people. So children need both parents. But also understand this. No matter how you raise your child, no matter whether he goes to church, whether he's in a civic organization, that someone will come along and will try to have more of an influence over him than you do. Think about it. You raised your child. You educated him or her. You sent him to school. You paid the insurance. You bought the uniforms. You took him lunch. You went to the teachers' meetings. And now that your son is 16, all of a sudden, someone comes along, Joe Blow from down the street, who comes up to your son or daughter, and they did nothing for them, and yet they have a lot of advice to give your son or daughter. And it's the boys that really worry me, because boys are tactile learners. What does that mean? They learn by doing. Boys and men learn by actually doing things. Girls could sit down for an hour or two and just listen to someone talk. Boys want to be involved. We took a group of kids in grade 6 on a class trip one day. I accompanied my daughter as she took them on a class trip. And it was very interesting. A 10-year-old boy, he stands up there, or 12-year-old, and he has a basketball, and he would not sit down. Teachers are saying, boys, sit down. What? Boys learn by doing. And so parents, don't get upset if your son is overly active. That's how men figure things out. Now, as we get older, of course, many boys may not say a lot. They may not verbalize, but you need to watch their behavior. A man may be sitting there with the remote and he's clicking back and forth. That's how men work out details. He would go through 100 channels, but he's working out something in his own mind. He may not verbalize. Now, girls may talk a lot. Every time you see your daughter, she's chatting. That's how girls are. But boys are often a little bit different. Now, these categories are not hard and fast. But remember, when your son gets involved with someone who wants to cause him to go astray and do something else, parent, you've got to learn what it means to help have an influence over him. I'll never forget when I was about 15 years old, I wanted to go down the street to play basketball with my friends at the park, and Mom said to me, "Those boys are not your company." I'm like, "Mom, what do you mean?" She says, where they're going, you don't want to go." I said, "Oh, where they are going, you don't want to go." I didn't know that. Now I understand what she means. Because you see, children are not equal. Children have a different way of learning. You have your way of learning, and I'm glad that I turned to books, and I turned toward education, and I turned toward the study and research, so that my first degree in psychology, no problem, then went into the ministry, did divinity, biblical studies. I love philosophy, love languages, and absolutely enjoy it. And then recently the training in substance use disorder. Drug addiction has been an amazing way to help people to get off of drugs. And so what do you do when your son comes in and you find a joint in his pocket? What do you do when your son, you smell weed on his breath, or he's been smoking? And if you look at his hands, what you'll begin to see is darkness over whatever hand he's using to hold the joint. Please understand that this is just a symptom. Drug addiction is a brain disease. It's not a sin curse. It's simply a disease like any other disease. And it can be treated like any other disease. But what helps is when you come at it with faith in God, with belief in your son, and letting them know that no matter what they do, you love them, you're encouraged, and you want to see them make it. And so I want to encourage you as a parent today. First of all, remember, parenting is a two-person job. Secondly, remember, boys learn by doing. They love to be active. Never expect your son to sit down all day and be quiet. And then thirdly, understand that children are looking for boundaries. I can remember many times as a child, I'd be almost asleep and my father would come through and he's leaning over and checking the window in my room. I said, "Dad, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm checking the window to make sure it's locked." And that was a sense of security. That's, again, the father is a protector. One of the things men ought to do is protect their families. And so children are looking for boundaries, not just to make sure that the window is secure, but to know that there are boundaries. How far can you go? I can remember going to the beach and my dad coming out and saying, "That's far enough, son, come back in." Children need boundaries. Young people need boundaries. I'm appalled at how some parents don't know where their children are. Do you remember they used to ask this years ago? You know, when we were children, you turn on the TV and that news was going off, and they'd say to 11 o'clock, "Do you know where your children are?" Well, you need to know where your children are. You would not leave your old car out on the street, yet you don't know where your children are. See, that's abdicating your responsibility as a parent. So I want to just encourage you, find out where they are, know who they're with, know who is influencing them, and you determine to be their number one influencer. If you like this video, just look down at the bottom of this video, give it a like or subscribe. Let us know that you're listening. Let us know how we can help you. And by all means, feel free to correspond with us. Write me, call me. I would love to talk with you to try to help you to save your son, save your daughter, and help your family to leave a great lasting legacy. Amen.